Are we live? Are we live? I think we're live. How about that? What's going on, Cracker Jacks? All right, day 8, not day 9 of Giants training camp practice recap. We'll go for about 30 minutes, answer some questions towards the end. An eventful day of practice. We're going to cover a lot of it on the podcast later, but we had the fight. We had the offense essentially having a worse day, at least passing offense-wise, and some other things we want to catch up on, some injury news, some big names, or some more important names, some lesser important names.
Yeah.
Justin, do you want to start with offense overall? Or let's give a fight update. How about let's
everybody wants to hear about the fight.
So fight update. So Saquon Barkley runs, nice run. Aaron Robinson's in the open field. And Saquon just runs his ass over.
And
just
defenders aren't allowed to tackle guys.
Yeah. So it was cool, but it was like I was yelling, like, that's not fair. Like, he's not like Aaron Robinson's not allowed to tackle Saquon Barkley.
Was it cool in the moment seeing Saquon Barkley run somebody? Yeah, you get excited, but then it's like, oh, you come to reality and be like, that's not fair for defensive players that literally
would be pissed.
They'll get reamed out by Brian Dable if they touch offensive players.
If they tackled him to the ground. So I would be pissed if I was in. And then the next 3 plays, man, they were just chippy, some shoving after plays. And, we're not allowed to record in 11-on-11 anymore.
But there were 2-3 plays in a row.
So I was like,
where they were getting chippy.
So I was like, I'm just going to pull out my phone. I'm not going to hold it up. I'm just going to hit record. And if there's a fight, I'm holding it up. I'm not missing a fight video. We're not giving away any schematics.
Nope.
And everyone knew a fight is happening. And if you go back and watch the video, it's John Feliciano and Tay Crowder. They literally just go head up and just start, not just pushing, just start swinging on each other, throwing haymakers. So it gets into a big brawl. And then this part, we didn't see necessarily live, but reports out and then also pictures coming out of it. So Cam Brown and Tay Crowder are very good friends. So Cam Brown is pulling John Feliciano out of the pile. And if you haven't seen the picture is just insane.
And it looked weird in the moment. It looked like either John Feliciano just passed out, which that's unlikely, and John Feliciano was just playing along with it in the moment. We're buddy. I'm going to act like I'm a ragdoll, and Dan Duggan on the pod said like he's a wounded soldier in battle, and you're just dragging him out.
Yeah, and then Bobby Johnson comes and shoves Cam Brown, and then after that, John Feliciano's standing up and just takes a full-on haymaker at Cam Brown. Cam Brown swings back. So it turned into this big thing. Brian Dable gathered them around, talked
couple
to
minutes.
For a few minutes.
Yeah,
couldn't hear exactly what they were saying.
Couldn't hear anything. Yeah,
and he wasn't dog cussing and stuff. And then the second team came on, and they finished practice. Near after that, ran one little sprint. And then
second and the third team looked good after the fight. Didn't really get a chance to see the first team that much.
Yeah,
after
they got
that.
one series after that. The first team got, and then the practice was over. So obviously this mosquito, I want to fight it.
Mm-hmm.
We're a culture of violence. I love training camp fights. Now, you don't want them to get too out of hand. But I will say, the fact that a coach is going in there and shoving a guy.
Yeah, don't feel great about that.
Well, it's because he can't, it's not great because the player can't do anything back.
Correct. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Especially, these are grown men we're talking about, too. It's not like a high school, these are grown men, another grown man went after another grown man. And if that player, who is a grown man, goes after the coach, he's basically, gone,
Yeah, and this isn't the, when how Twitter will lose its mind when, a coach will grab a player by his face mask and yell at him?
Yeah.
That's football. People have to do different.
This was different.
This is different than that. You're in the midst of a fight, guys throwing, actual punches. So I think if anyone that needs to be talked to is probably Bobby Johnson. You just can't have that again.
Yeah, that's the main thing that I was wondering.
That could become a huge issue, and then,
it could.
The linebacker coach, John Agoragru, was pissed off about that. But anyways, it was a fight. There's not much to report on besides they just fought.
It kind of came about because the offense was getting their ass kicked. Let's just put it out that the offense was getting their ass kicked. And I don't know if Saquon Barkley lowered his shoulder because he was frustrated that the offense was getting their ass kicked. The offense was, getting their ass kicked via throwing the ball, and they were taking sacks and incompletions and stuff like that. What does it have to do with Saquon Barkley? But I think in particular the offensive linemen were getting pissed because they were getting their ass kicked.
Yeah, and this was a probably the worst day for the offense from QB passing offense. They continue to look pretty good running the ball, But passing offense from Daniel Jones as the main culprit down on, it was a bad day. Whether it was wide receivers dropping balls, offensive linemen not picking up protection.
Tony had 2 drops.
Yeah, and would have been 2 of the better plays by the first team too. And Tony dropped.
Would have been some at least 10 to 15-yard plays.
Yeah, and I had Daniel Jones as 5 for 16, 2 interceptions. I mean,
does that include the drops? Like 5 for 16, you're counting that as the incompletion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you counted the drops as a completion, it'd be 7 for 16.
Okay.
So still less than 50%, which
not
sucks.
Great. And the thing is,
the interception was bad.
It just seems
they're
like
trying
they're
to leak Colin Johnson out, play action boot, and kind of open. But McKinney just saw it from a mile away, and the ball Jones didn't put much velocity on it.
I kind of don't care.
It could have been completed if Jones just bulleted it in, which he's capable of doing.
Yeah.
It might have been a completion or just, but it was, you saw it from the moment Jones hitched. McKinney was just hawking that down, and it was going to be an easy interception for him from out of the center field spot.
And that was the Colin Johnson one that it was targeted to him. You're talking about?
Yes.
Right, yeah, because Adoree had one, and then I think the Colin Johnson one was worse, where you had McKinney as a deep safety. I feel like you kind of have to see that safety, or at least you have to feel confident in your arm strength that you can put that ball on Colin Johnson so McKinney doesn't come over. But it really was kind of just lobbed up in the air. I'm not freaking out over interceptions at this point. Now, again, that's what these practice report. We are having these practice recaps as not necessarily just to tell you to freak out or tell you that the offense is great, the defense is great, offense is bad, or vice versa. I feel like it's just to tell you what happened. But I'm not overreacting to the interceptions. I'm going to be reacting to Daniel Jones just not looking confident. That's what I'm going to be reacting to.
Yeah, I mean, the interceptions are part of that. Those are the worst plays you can have.
I'd rather see Daniel Jones throw the interceptions on balls that are 20-plus yards down the field, which is what we've been saying the last 2 years with Jason Garrett. I would rather see the interceptions come on 20-plus yards down the field than just constant 3-and-out, 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 just give the ball back to the defense. You know what I mean? Yeah, this bugger's really fucking bothering us.
I mean, these were deeper play. These were like 20-plus yards down the field.
Dable said that if that happens, he's not cool with it, but
the offense as a whole, it just looks bad.
Yes, there's no sugarcoating it.
On quick concepts, the timing's wrong. Jones is missing guys. The offensive line is having facing Wink Martindale, and that blitz scheme has been a huge. It's not even.
It's beginning to get really fucking annoying. Can I say that?
From what angle?
From evaluating the offensive. That's where it's getting annoying.
So are you annoyed that the offensive line is so bad at picking it up consistently?
I'm just annoyed
that we have to face all these blitzes.
Yeah, man, and just they're playing really heavy man coverage. So any of the quick intermediate stuff that they want to set up, it's just not being set up since somebody's always right there to just get it. So you can't even see a lot of yards after the catch. It's annoying. Now, I'm glad for the defense that they are picking all that stuff up and blah, 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 blah. We'll see what they look like when they face another offense. But it's annoying from the sense of we're trying to evaluate the offense because the offense is just more important.
Yeah, but at the same time, I need the offensive line to start picking up some of these blitzes.
Yeah, that is true. Kafka
now,
did say it's the best test.
Now there's times when they're sending 6 and they're protecting 5, so maybe the solution is to keep the tight end in more, the running back in more. It's a little different. And again, that is something that is the annoying part. I will say is that the offense isn't game planning for this certain defense.
No.
They're running their stuff. They're installing their stuff. Yeah. So that is where it's frustrating. But that's where I think preseason will be a little bit refreshing, because you're going to see some more normal defenses. I know people say, well, preseason they're running some basic stuff, but preseason is going to be more realistic to what they see week in, week out, first compared to a Wink Martindale
even if
defense.
It's vanilla. Yeah.
Yeah, even if it's vanilla, you see a lot coverages for the most part are vanilla most of the time. Are they going to have, inverted coverages a ton, or, safeties replacing a cornerback role and a cornerback replacing this, or a corner blitz and the outside line? No, you're not going to see all that, but you're going to see some more of some bread and butter stuff that you see in the NFL. So I think that and the offense probably needs a little bit of a confidence boost too at this point.
Yes,
because
they do.
It's been more bad than good. They had those 2 good days at the end of last week, but it's been more bad than good. And like you said, the drops. Here's something with the wide receiver stuff, and I'm thinking about possibly talking about this on the podcast.
Sure.
it sounds good to have freedom in the stuff, but I think there should be, we didn't ask for Brian Dable and Mike Kafka and want them as coaches to give the wide receivers total freedom. We wanted better concepts and more aggressive concepts, not just total freedom for Kenny Galladay and Kadarius Toney to do whatever they want. And obviously that's not what it is. But there just needs to be more communication and more concreteness. Okay, again, we don't need 4 different ways to run the flood concept. We just want to run the flood concept.
We don't know
more aggressive concept.
We don't even know what's going on, really, and even Duggan seemed to be a little confused by it. So I don't know. But from what the beat has said all spring until what we're actually seeing now with our eyes on the field, it is super complex, and these guys are not fully picking it up yet.
Yeah, and again, you don't need the most complex offense to be a good offense. Like, you can do some simple stuff and then add some of the complex. And again, this is speculative because we don't know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, we just don't.
What happened on this route. So I don't want to pretend we know everything on that when we don't. So again, the offense needs to get better. Again, this is 2 weeks in, but this offense hasn't given anybody. There's no reason to give this offense that's ranked 31st the back-to-back years. Obviously, we weren't ranked 31st when DJ went down last year, but nonetheless, and then obviously you don't have Jason Garrett. But there's no reason to give the offense the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
There's no reason. So on the flip side, the defense has actually been pretty fun.
But we are one more final thing before I guess maybe you want to move on to the defense. But
I got some other quick notes we could go through.
But they are ramping up. I mean, Dable kind of. We were talking about this for yesterday's show too, for Sunday's show. Talking about how Brian Dable and the way that he has structured this training camp is now things are really starting to ramp up. And these last 2 practices, back-to-back fully padded practices, that's the first time that's happened so far this training camp where you have back-to-back fully padded days. I think tomorrow is going to be a fully padded practice too, or at least they're going to have tops on. From what I think, so they're just. This is part of his kind of plan of the ramp-up period. Now, it's not great that the offense is starting to look worse when they're ramping things up, but it's also going to be unfortunate that at least fans aren't going to be allowed to see, and it's not going to be open to the public when, we're going to be in week 3, week 4 of camp, and things are going to be fully ramped up and when they're going. So we're getting a bad taste in our mouths when this is the latter part of what's open to the public.
Yeah, and obviously what matters is what happens once week 1 kicks off. But this stuff sets the tone for that.
It does,
The teams usually don't look much different than they do in camp. And I won't say preseason because preseason is different. You're not going against starters all the time. But teams usually don't look a ton different from what the reports coming out from camp are.
Yeah, I agree with that.
This was at one point for 30 seconds, we're like, oh, shoot. This is going to be something. Tyrod Taylor went in for one play.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, oh, wow, they're going to let Taylor run with the ones. And then they took him back out the play after, so we don't know exactly why. Dable was talking with Jones, so, they weren't just being like, all right, let's go. Let's open it up for a QB1 competition.
That's not what it felt like.
But that was for 30 seconds, it was like, oh, shoot. This is actually happening.
Because it followed off of some bad throws by Jones, and then Taylor goes in. So then you're like, oh, what's going on here?
And then literally put Jones back in the next snap. It's like, okay, I guess this is probably nothing, but still was pretty interesting. Josh Azuda was out today. That's not great.
No. And the day, before he got all those reps at guard, and that was the first day where he solely got reps at guard, and then he's out the next day.
Andre Miller fractured his forearm. Reported by Bobby Skinner. How about that? Even though it's injury news, I don't love reporting that.
No.
The tight end room is now was as funny as the tight end room was a day ago. It's even funnier now because now you have Daniel Bellinger, who's still the only lock, and now we have Chris Myrick, Austin Allen, Ricky Seals-Jones out. Jordan Akins sucks. Jordan Akins has a huge he drops almost everything. It's surprising when Jordan Akins catches a pass. Jeremiah Hall got the first team reps as the H-back today. But Jeremiah Hall actually had a really nice play with the first team on somewhat of a crossing route, and he caught it and had a nice run. And It's like, who's that? It's like, oh, wow, Jeremiah Hall is, getting a 20-plus yard gain.
I mean, just got to block. I mean, that's the main thing. I'm confident in any of these guys maybe catching the ball, just block.
Yeah. Second teams, Darius Slayton had a couple really nice catches.
He did.
He belongs on the roster. I don't care what anybody says.
I mean, he has drops and he has bad plays, but he also has some really good plays. Colin Johnson has nice plays. I care more about the Quincy Rochet debate than I do the Darius Slayton debate at this point. So
I'm saving Quincy Rochet stuff for preseason. Let's see.
What else he got? I'll check my notes too.
Andrew Thomas is just a monster. Evan Neal got Kayvon Thibodeau in a one-on-one.
Well, no, I'll tell you what. Kayvon Thibodeau had 2 sacks the first team series on the left side against Andrew Thomas. I didn't watch Andrew Thomas and say if he was bad, but I saw Kayvon Thibodeau in the backfield, and it would have been a sack, 2 sacks. So.
It's hard to tell sometimes if you're not watching specifically because there's a lot of times when guys are running free.
Yeah, that too.
So they worked on a lot of play action today. So.
Yes, yeah, heavy play action, heavy crossing route. So the Jeremiah Hall play that you're talking about, Wandale Robinson motion at the snap, acted like he was going to take a sweep behind the quarterback. Plus, you also had play action, I think, to Barkley. Jeremiah Hall on the crossing route across the field, and that wound up being an explosive play. Yeah, so this was a very heavy for the first half of practice, heavy play action, heavy crossing route field, where heavy crossing route patterns. There's been some practices where I felt like that this is a Mike Kafka Kansas City Chiefs offense. Today I feel like this was a Brian Daboll Buffalo Bills offense.
Yeah, again, like
practice.
You said, a lot of play action boot with crossing routes in there or trying to leak guys out. Why don't you tell us about Bareburger before we talk about the defense?
Yeah, I had trouble talking there. I apologize about that. You know who doesn't have trouble with anything because they're perfect? Bareburger. Can we get? I never ask for people to spam the chat, but can we get a Bareburger spam going on in the chat right now? Just scream Bareburger in all caps. Scream as you're typing, and also scream where you're at right now. Bareburger, they got something for everyone. They even got something for you difficult, picky human being. They're a burger joint, but they're not the type to be bogged down by the labels. Their menu is filled with options for everyone, regardless of dietary preferences, whether you're 100% vegan or you think ketchup is a vegetable, or you don't like mustard on your hot dog. I like it now. Bareburger, there's only one dietary restriction. You'll be limited to food that's made to taste great. Bareburger Kitchen Bar, happy hour. It's the best in New York City. 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. Monday to Friday. That's a lot of hours that you can be happy. Elk burgers, ostrich burgers, bison burgers. Let me know which one you think you would like the best. Bareburger Kitchen and Bar, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Monday to Friday. They also have a lunch special, $14.95, all served with fries. Click the link in our description to find yourself at your favorite new happy hour spot, burger joint and luncheon, Bareburger Kitchen and Bar. Do we have the Bareburger spam happening right now? Yes, we do. Way to go. I never ask for any spams, but we got it. Thank you to Bareburger.
Thank you, Bareburger. Let's talk about the defense a little bit. So let's talk about the defense as a whole. We haven't done that a ton in these training camp live streams.
Sure.
So on the opposite end of all the offensive struggles we talked about is the defense playing really well. And Aaron Robinson has been out there. Like all their guys have been, for the most part, healthy. In fact, I mean, everyone on the defense has been healthy starting lineup-wise besides Azeez Ojulari, who's been out. They're going to wreak havoc. And I don't know how well it's going to translate if they're playing better offenses. But, man, we have some bad offenses that we're probably going to play, some bad QBs. And this Wink Martindale defense, until you see it every day, you don't realize, like, man, it is chaotic. Like, it is chaotic for an opposing offense. And I think they're going to they might exceed expectations. Like I don't know how bad the secondary is going to be and if they'll give up a ton of passing yards and, all that. But they do wreak havoc, man. And there's going to be sacks. There's going to be a lot of hits on the QB this year. Like, they are truly going to apply pressure on the QB. This isn't going to be where, Patrick Graham sends a fifth guy and you're just hoping, one of your guys can win. Like, no, they are going to force themselves on quarterbacks this year.
And at the end of the day, I think it also comes down to the players that you got up front, too. Like Leonard Williams. If Leonard Williams returns back to that 2020 form, oh boy, does that elevate the scheme. If Kayvon Thibodeau is this dude who's just causing havoc and is in the backfield, so often during practice, and he can kind of get off to, maybe not this typical rookie start, that elevates the scheme. Azeez Ojulari will hopefully be back next week. We talk about that with Dan Duggan. That will be absolutely huge. I mean, name XYZ player here. Dexter Lawrence on a no, not on a contract year because we picked up his 5th-year option, but still looking to get a long-term extension, right? All these dudes that can be dudes, they can elevate the scheme so much, and they can help wreak havoc for Wink Martindale.
And their cornerback one, Adoree Jackson, has been playing very well.
Yeah.
Like, he's been catching interceptions. He's been getting his hands on the ball a lot. He's been, stopping, the QB from making certain throws. Adoree Jackson's been stepping up to that cornerback one spot. And, again, maybe that's because he's facing a guy like Kenny Golladay who's not going to kill you with separation.
Yeah.
And he's facing –
looking like Kenny Golladay ain't killing anybody with anything right now.
So, and then McKinney had, like, that play, even as bad as it was in the offense, it was good on the defense. Like, it was a play action to the right. He follows his run key, where he's supposed to fill, backs out, sees that route developing, and then cuts underneath it and has an interception. And not every interception needs to be the greatest interception to be a great interception for McKinney.
Looks the same in the stat sheet.
They were doing some stuff where – there was times where Julian Love and Xavier McKinney were down low towards the box, and Andrew Adams was up high. And then there was times where Andrew Adams was in the A-gap.
Yeah, Andrew Adams and Darian Beavers came in on an A-gap blitz the same play.
Yeah, like not even the box, but like in the A-gap. And then Darian Beavers today had a dropped interception on the RPO from Tyrod Taylor. Like just read it, just completely sniffed it out where, RPO, you're trying to bait that linebacker. He doesn't get baited at all. Gets in the throwing window and got his hands on an interception. I'm not going to call it a dropped interception because it's like 7 yards away and it's a bullet from Tyrod Taylor, who's a linebacker. But still, like it was a good play for him. Andrew Adams has truly become the third safety when they're running those 3 safety sets.
Yeah. Yusuf Corker saw Yusuf Corker give up a deep play, or he might have even given up a touchdown to a C.J. Board, Darius Slayton like player. So,
the backup secondary kind of sucks.
Yeah, and that's why it's like, we're talking about this defense. It's like, maybe can they be good? But the asterisk on the end of that sentence is if one of those 3 starting corners goes down, like I think we're kind of effed.
I've also noticed that they're not sending all the same blitz pressures and stuff like blitz packages with the second team. It's a little more of base defense. Maybe that's because of personnel, or maybe that's like, hey, Wink Martindale doesn't want to, stress the second team with that, just kind of want to learn their roles. But nonetheless, those corners are getting beat deep. Colin Johnson will beat them deep. Darius Slayton will beat them deep. Like
CJ
Board. Like the second team wide receivers are definitely outperforming the second team DBs. Like it's been an issue.
Yeah.
And especially with Belton out, your third safety's gone now. Your third safety's getting a lot of first team reps. So, although Andrew Adams did get his hands on a ball deep down the field versus Tyrod Taylor, that was. I forget who was thrown to, but it was in double coverage, and Adams got his hand on the ball, so that was good. Let's see. Quincy Rochet got a little bit of reps with the second team, but mostly with the third team.
Yeah, and it's just not
third team, but it's
just not fair seeing him go up against Roy and Batika.
He needs to be with the second team. Like there's just no arguing with that.
Like Timon Fox shouldn't be the player that's lining up on the other side as an edge rusher when Quincy Rochet is on the field.
And again, Quincy Rochet can play the run. O'Shane Zimenez, Ellerson Smith flat out can't play the run. Let's see. Do you have anything else? Going through my notes.
I don't want to beat a dead horse.
Feliciano dumped. Honey speed sweep.
I don't want to beat a dead horse, and I don't want to have a long-term conversation on it, but Evan Neal's just not getting out of his stance.
Yeah, there was one play today where he just didn't, like, the ball snapped, Kayvon just rushed.
That's not just a today thing. It wasn't just a one-rep thing.
There was just like a free rusher where Evan Neal just didn't get out of his stance in time. So maybe he's having a little bit of issue with the mental part of this.
That's what I hope it is, because I really don't think
not
it's
getting
physical.
out of his stance has to. I mean, it's not physical. That's mental. That's like thinking about something, not getting the snap count or what. But he just, it's not physical to not get out of your stance. We've seen Evan Neal get out of his stance. It's not. His legs work.
That's honestly half. I think that's half of his issue at camp is just being the last offensive lineman out of his stance. So I don't know if it's not knowing the count. I don't know if they're doing like a silent count. I have no clue. We're not able to hear that stuff fully from where we are.
All right, hit us with some questions and we'll close it out.
Yeah, we'll close it out.
After this, we only have 2 more of these. We'll have one tomorrow and then one on Sunday, and then I'll be on a plane right after that.
Yep. We're going to be live streaming. The next time that we'll have a live stream after tomorrow, we will be live streaming for the first time ever the Patriots game, the preseason game. So don't expect a lot of game streams this year, but since Bobby's in town, I'm in town. The football grump is going to come up, and Danny King is going to come to the John Boy Media office, and we're going to be live streaming from the same place that we live streamed the NFL draft. So, hit us with some questions. Big Blue in the Bronx, can the beat ask if Ricky Seals-Jones is in witness protection? Like, where's Ricky Seals-Jones?
Yeah, why don't we have any answers on Ricky Seals-Jones?
I guess
and they haven't asked them.
I almost wanted to ask, because we talked about Ricky Seals-Jones for a hot sec today. Like, has anybody even asked about Ricky Seals-Jones? But I figured that'd be kind of rude. I don't think Brian Dable's going to say, so maybe that's why nobody's asked.
That's true.
I think they've given up on asking for injury updates. How many receivers are making the team? Can you see Doss Johnson battling for one of the spots if he keeps 6 or 7?
If Johnson will win that, he's just well ahead. Doss is with the third team for the most part. He gets some second team reps.
How can we get Bobby? How can we get Justin to the Jacksonville game? If David Powis goes, I will consider going.
How about that? Do you think the first touchdown will be? No, I don't care about that question. Is Micah McFadden out of the linebacker 2-3 competition? Yeah, I mean, it's basically Tay Crowder and Darian Beavers, and Crowder's getting all the reps over him. So that could change as the preseason, but I think McFadden's clearly out of that competition.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Like, he gets third team reps at times.
Yep.
Which is interesting because they drafted one guy 2 rounds ahead of the other. Let's go. Let's get a couple more questions in here.
Do I think Richie James will have a role in this offense?
Pandering.
Yeah. Not like a major one, but if he makes the team, I mean, I can easily see him getting a couple reps a game where one of those reps he's lined up in the backfield, or he's initially lined up in the backfield and then he motions out. I mean, I think that's how they've been kind of using him. So, I mean, how Richie James, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Sterling Shepard all fit into this offense if they are all healthy at one time, which is still doubtful, that will be interesting to me.
Eli Bittner, if you were Dable, would you tell Wink to practice a more base defense for the benefit of the offense? I mean, they talk about stuff. In fact, actually, I'm not going to say because I don't remember exactly, but it seemed like those 2 really good days for the offense, it was a little more of base.
Yeah.
So
we were talking about at the start of camp how it's like, oh, Wink Martindale not necessarily bringing the pressure yet, and then when they started bringing the pressure, it's like, oh, offense looks a little worse.
It depends on what the situation is. If they're practicing 3rd and 3, you can't really, I wouldn't. I would let Wink Martindale run his defense, and I would tell the offense, hey, we got to work on what we got to work on, and we got to deal with the adversity.
Yep.
Let's see.
Are we concerned about Daniel Jones yet? So I guess let's just now we can give our opinion versus just recapping.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me so before camp, did I think that Daniel Jones would be the QB in 2023? The answer was no. After so far through 9 practices that we've seen in a fan fest, I'm more confident in that no.
Yeah, I'm more worried about him. I'm more worried about these guys picking up the scheme rather than the actual talent of the players. Really, the only guy that I'm actually concerned with them as a football player right now is Kenny Golladay. Like I just don't think Galladay's right. I think Jones is not grasping things. I think everybody and the communication is not down yet. I think Galladay's the only one where physically it's like I think you're just kind of done, unless it's a contested catch. Which I still think he can do that.
Which is what I think they've used him the right way. He didn't do much today, but there has been the draw. I don't know.
I wasn't watching him until some of our beat reporter friends are saying, "Have you watched the way that he's moved?" And then I've watched the way that he's moved, and I'm like, "Oh, shit."
All right. Yeah, we know Ricky Seals-Jones.
Thank you, Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Let's end this. We appreciate you guys. We'll be back tomorrow with another live stream. We'll be back tomorrow for a regular podcast. Check out all the other stuff on the channel. There's plenty out if you haven't seen it. So
Dan Duggan interview was good, so I recommend checking that out.
Yeah, it's a good interview when it goes for like over 30 minutes, and it felt like 20 minutes, and I think Duggan was our best interview at camp so far.
Yeah, it was a lot happened. Dan Duggan has a really cool perspective on things. He's obviously out on the sideline, and Tony Award winner, so he's pretty good at it.
All right, we appreciate you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Until